Hi, and welcome to our Capstone presentation. My name is Hannah Willeke.
I'm Angela Vega.
And I'm Allie Douglas.
So the title of our Capstone presentation is Improving Pediatric Registered Nurses' Knowledge on Coping Skills and the Available Resources Surrounding the Loss of a Patient. We decided on this topic through article research and discussion with pediatric nurses at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center, where it was concluded that there was a lack of knowledge surrounding the effective coping strategies and proper education to effectively manage going through the loss of a patient. One nurse even stated that I don't know if there's enough education and resources to feel prepared about the death of a patient. Without the proper education on effective resources, training, and coping skills, pediatric registered nurses suffer short-term and long-term consequences due to the loss of a patient. Some of these include burnout, compassion fatigue, and fear. So in an effort to support pediatric nurses, the aim of this project is to increase pediatric registered nurses' knowledge on the proper coping skills, resources, education, and training that are effective in minimizing the negative effects surrounding the loss of a patient. Our group came together and identified the PICO question that reads, in pediatric registered nurses experiencing the loss of a pediatric patient, what is the impact of receiving education on coping skills and available resources surrounding the loss of a pediatric patient on their post-test knowledge of the education received compared to their pre-test knowledge before the education was received? Our literature search used databases such as CINAHL and PubMed and keywords including pediatric nurse, impact of death, coping skills, resources, etc. There were 26 articles used from 2014 to 2021.
Our research was done at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center, where all of us did our role transition hours, and we chose A6 Central, which is a med surgical unit, and then A7 North South, which is a neuroscience unit. The objectives that we came up with were nurses will be able to identify educational strategies that should be in place for students and oriented nurses to prepare them for the death of a patient. Nurses will be able to identify resources and strategies that are effective and available to support them during the care of a dying patient. And nurses will be able to identify proper skills to effectively cope with the loss of a pediatric patient. We created an educational PowerPoint, which was set out to registered nurses on our selected units on March 8th, 2021. And a pre-test and a post-test were included to analyze the nurses' knowledge gained. The nurses were instructed to answer the questions of the pre-test, review the educational PowerPoint, and then answer the questions on the post-test. The pre-test and post-test responses were then used to analyze if the nurses met the identified objectives and the overall success of the education.
After reviewing the results, we learned that overall nurses reported receiving little to no prior education or training on how to handle a situation regarding the loss of a patient. Nurses stated using coping strategies such as self-care, exercise, and talking to peers prior to the education, and the nurses were able to identify new coping strategies after the education. Nurses were able to show new knowledge of resources provided to them by children's. Nurses were able to state the benefits of a large interdisciplinary teams, as well as ways to include family in the end-of-life grieving process. All nurses who participated stated the education was helpful and made them feel more prepared to handle a future loss. So our recommendations for future practice is to implement education on coping strategies during new higher orientation, educate nurses on available resources provided by the hospital, and early education, including grief simulations during nursing school. And then these are our references. Thank you for watching.